Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made.
Listen up, Autothots and Decepticons. You're listening to Prime Cuts, a non-linear history of the Transformers franchise on television. I'm one of your hosts, Audrey.
I'm your other host, Nero.
And it's time for us to wrap up our second season of the podcast by talking about our thoughts on the first season of Transformers Animated.
It's true. So yeah, we finished season 1 of Transformers Animated. It's interesting coming back to this because it's been a while since I rewatched Animated. And the conclusion I've come to about Animated is that I still think it's quite good, but a lot of the stuff I associate with Animated comes from the second and third seasons.
Yeah, this is something that's, I think, fairly consistent across Transformers media, is that almost every show I've watched, I would say, has like a slow start, like a slow first season, and then it like really ramps up in the second season. And there's all this stuff that you remember going back to, and then it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't come until season 2, and you're like, God damn it, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think the three-parter that this opens with is actually really good.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's still a good season. It's just, but like all of the most. And again, this is not isolated to Animated. But trust me, when we talk about next season that we're going to do, it'll become very apparent there. But like, it regardless of the quality of the first seasons, and they're generally good. I mean, the first season of Prime was great too. But like, most of the stuff people remember, the really notable stuff, doesn't happen in first season.
Because the show has to find its footing to figure out where it's going to go. And I think
right.
This season, you really see that they're trying to figure out what the show is, because a lot of these episodes are what we like to call Teen Titans episodes, where it's just like some guy shows up.
Or if it's the 80s, they have to snort more coke. But
yeah, exactly. They had to.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but so like the thing about this season that separates it from the other two seasons of Animated, I think, is that this one doesn't necessarily have a super strong overarching plot. Like there's the only thing is Megatron trying to come back, which is pretty broad compared to the other two, as we'll see. So a lot of the times you'd have these episodes that have little to nothing to do with anything else going on. And a lot of characters don't really seem to move forward, because characters do develop in Animated, but not in this season, really. They're slow to change.
Yeah, or they will change very quickly and then revert by the next episode.
Yeah.
You've learned nothing. You cheated not only the game, but also yourself.
Because, so just to discuss a couple of changes that will when we eventually get around to season 2, one thing that becomes very apparent is they stop using human villains so much. They're still like around and they pop up from time to time, but they aren't really as often an occurrence. Unfortunately, Henry Masterson will appear repeatedly, but
yeah, Meltdown shows up again.
Yes, he does. I think he has one more episode after this season.
Yeah, he has one more.
And then there's like a big fun team up episode of all the villains, which is also very fun. But not necessarily because of them, but because of a certain character associated with them.
Right, yes.
But like that because of the way that like the Decepticons are not really a thing on Earth, they kind of had to wing it for a while, and like you had your Dinobots and your Soundwave episodes to kind of introduce these notable names. But with the dispersion of the Allspark, a lot more stuff starts happening in season 2 with like new Cybertronian characters instead of just like a guy.
Yeah, and I will say, I think of all the series post G1, animated was the most willing, which again we don't get to see here, but we do see in later seasons. Animated was the most willing to really branch out and think about the original G1 characters and try to interpret them. You see a lot of characters that don't show up in any other series thus far, at least. Even for very brief moments in ways that are like recognizably them from G1, but are still like fresh and new versions of them, which was really actually quite nice to see.
Yeah. And I would also suggest to anyone who enjoyed their time with animated, go out and find the Allspark Almanacs, which were these like half data book, half behind the scenes sort of books that they published towards the end of animated. They're chock full of like basically every single background character you will ever see in this show has an entry in the Allspark Almanac. They all have names, they all have lore, and it's all very, very cool. And they're just great books. And I recommend. I think there were 3 of them. There's 1, 2, and then the complete Allspark Almanac. So find those.
We've now spent a lot of time talking about future seasons. So let's talk about like our feelings on this one.
That's true. I think that it, like animated season 1, like we said, it's good. It's got a lot of good episodes in it. It's got Along Came a Spider. It's got Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt is always one of the ones that's on the tip of everyone's lips when they're like, where were you when animated became a good show? When animated like broke the mold of what everyone thought it was going to be. And I would argue the first premiere, when Optimus fell off a cliff and died. But Thrill of the Hunt proved that it was willing to like devote a lot more time to character stuff and not just Teen Titans funny action and Bumblebee antics. On the other hand, you had episodes like Nanosec.
Listen, it's the shoes that make you old.
The shoes that make you fast and then old. And like it's kind of a half and half situation where I think half because there's like 13 episodes in this season, not counting the 3-parter premiere, and so you have like half of them are kind of this more character driven, fun stuff, and then the other half of it is like, well, this is a Teen Titans script that you have simply recycled.
Or was rejected from Teen Titans.
Yeah, or
you haven't recycled it. You are using it for the first time, but that's because it didn't make it into Teen Titans.
Like, all of those are fun, but it's not necessarily what I think of when I think of animated. But some highlights, like I said, Thrill of the Hunt. I really liked Lost and Found, actually, the Blitzwing and Lugnut sort of debut.
Yeah.
Where they come to Earth. That episode's great.
My feeling, so I have like kind of mixed feelings about it. But what is interesting for me is that, so it took me a few times to actually really watch animated the first time I did it, and I've only watched through it once. I think I'm trying to think if I've watched through any of the series more than once, actually. I think I watched season 2 of Prime twice. But most of these series I've watched selected episodes from many different series, particularly G1, many times, because G1 is just like G1 is the gift that keeps on giving. It's just so good.
If you want to see 24 minutes of like poorly animated, unhinged bullshit, G1 has you covered.
But and like the thing about it is that it's like G1 has the best like isolated episodes.
Yeah, you can just pop anyone on and like you're set.
Exactly. So I watched that, but like it took me a good few times to get into animated. Now, originally when I tried to watch animated, I was coming again right off of watching Prime and become like baby's got a new hyperfixation. So I was trying to consume like as much as much media as I could that would
sate you.
Sort of fill, yeah, that would sort of like fill that new hole because I had a new hyperfixation. So coming off of Prime the first time, I think I got through about 5 minutes before I was like, I hate this.
Yeah, that's kind of like getting out of a sauna and jumping into an ice bath. They're so different tonally and visually. It's just like, what the fuck is this?
And it wasn't the visuals I was fine with. I didn't have any issues with the animation style. But I think I heard David Kay in this role after Peter Cullen.
Right.
And again, like Peter Cullen, I had become, as I sort of like headed into hyperfixation, it took me a while. I went through Prime pretty quickly, but it took me a while to finish it. It's 3 seasons long, plus 6 seasons and a movie. Like there's like a lot there. So it's not as though I got through Prime in a day. So as I was sort of falling into this hyperfixation, I was really going back to the roots, and I was starting to watch G1, and I was getting that like reinforced. Peter Cullen enforced that. So I got to this, and I heard Optimus open his mouth and David Kay's voice come out of it, and I was like, absolutely not.
Open those beautiful, luscious lips.
And then I was like, I definitely remember getting through like the opening meteor scene a few times, and I was like, I can't fucking stand this. Like, this is so bad. And then I think maybe the first time I got over to Decepticons, and it's really funny because I liked Chris Latta's voice for Starscream, and I totally understood why they chose Tom Kenny to sort of replicate that sort of sensibility, shall we say. But I heard Starscream open his mouth as well, and I was like, no, sorry, that's it.
God, that's
I can't.
so funny.
Like, I was like, after Steve Bloom and like something about the combination of Steve Bloom and Chris Latta and my memory of Armada,
right?
Like, and all of that. I heard Tom Kenny, and I was like, that's just SpongeBob, and I can't do this. Sorry. So I definitely didn't get into it that time. I tried again a little later on because, first of all, there was like a gap for a few years, for many years actually, between that and I would say Cyberverse of any halfway decent Transformers shows coming out. So I tried again somewhere in there because I kept seeing good reviews, and I was I started getting really active in the fandom, and there was still a lot of fic and art being made for it. And I think I got through I gave it like the whole 3-parter. And I was like, no, still not doing it for me. And then eventually, like, it was before Cyberverse came out for sure, but a few years ago, I finally like sat down and watched animated, and I was like, oh, this is good, actually. I just needed it to be like removed, I think, from like that other experience. There's something about falling into a new hyperfixation where it's like, this is like, I want very specific content about this.
Well, when you have
like at the onset.
When Prime is the first one, you kind of had an expectation of,
right,
well, things will probably be pretty similar, right? And then you go to animated, and every single character is so drastically different that it just gives you whiplash.
I mean, again, I think the issue was actually that animated wasn't different enough. Because I liked G1 back then. And if you want a difference between Prime and Prime and something else that's Transformers, G1's about as far away from it as you get.
That's true, but it's also ancient. So like maybe Prime being more, or Prime and animated being much closer together was like the
exactly.
point.
like that's what I think it is that like animated was different, but not so different that it didn't feel like an entirely different species, whereas
Right.
G1 did. Like G1 may as well be a completely different show.
It's wild.
So yeah, so there's something about like, again, that like onset of a new hyperfixation where you're like, I want, like, this is pushing some sort of button in my brain, and I want something that's going to just continue to whack that, hammer that button over and over again, and that wasn't, like, animated wasn't that.
Right.
So I just needed, like, the time to get away. But animated's a good show. The first season's a good season. It is still, I think animated as a whole, I would say this, but particularly the first season, not my favorite show about Transformers, but sort of separated out from it being a Transformers show, it might be like my favorite cartoon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a good time. It's got
like,
that late 2000s flavor on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah. And, you know, for me, like, being a little bit older, that's sort of like a sweet spot for me. The Teen Titans, American Dragon, Ben 10 era of cartoons.
Right. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the characters here, and specifically I want to talk about a character who I forgot how much I liked this incarnation of him. I kind of love animated Megatron. Like, we've seen two other Megatrons over the course of this podcast. Obviously, we have David K's Armada Megatron, who is I do love dearly with all my heart because he's just so fucking funny. But as a character, he's kind of an incompetent buffoon. Then we have Prime Megatron, who is like very, very the most threatening Megatron in terms of just he's very sharp. Two, his voice very growly, very gravelly, but not sort of the screech of G1 Megatron. But I really like
Frank Welker, the cooler Frank Welker.
Exactly. But I really like Corey Burton's interpretation of Megatron. He's very subdued and like sophisticated and kind of menacing. And that's not a combination of things most Megatrons normally get to be. Most Megatrons are big and bombastic and kind of goofy. But animated Megatron has like he's thinking about stuff a lot, which is good because he spends most of his time in this season as a disembodied head, so he can't really do much else.
Yeah, no, I would say that he is definitely like one of the most, if not the most interesting interpretations of Megatron that we see across the franchise.
Well, he's just cool. I also, I do really like the sort of greener Optimus we have in this show. I really did like the stuff at the end where he's not built for fucking leading an army yet. He's getting mad at all of his fucking subordinates and like saying all the wrong shit all the time and pissing everybody off.
Yeah.
I like that. Because, most Optimuses are very... The only other one who really kind of has that energy is Optimus Primal in Beast Wars. Because he's also like a guy... He's like a fucking research scientist who's suddenly in the Beast Wars now, and he has Rat Trap on his ship. And so he's dealing with it, as well as he can be expected to.
Mm-hmm.
But, sometimes you just gotta tell Rat Trap to shut the fuck up. And you're morally right for it.
No jury would convict you.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, so I never watched Beast Machines. I did watch Beast Wars, but that was also a long time ago,
Mhm.
and I did not particularly like it.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah. So I certainly have not returned to it. It's gonna be interesting to return to it, which I think will be probably not too long
Mm-hmm.
from now, but we'll see. But yeah, it is definitely like interesting. Animated definitely has one of the most fallible Optimuses
Mm-hmm.
out there.
I always like a good fallible hero, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, just everyone else, they are these like very fun incarnation of these characters. This is kind of the inception of Grumpy Ratchet, right? Like this would inform a lot of his characterization going forward and in other aspects of the franchise. It's like, what if he was old and grumpy? It's like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And actually, on that note, do you want to switch over to... Are there any other characters that you want to talk about?
No, I think I like the cast generally good enough.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the three that I really wanted to shout out as like, I really like these incarnations.
Yeah, I will say the one thing I will shout out before I think we should switch over to some of the questions that we have for the season is just Black Arachnia.
Yeah.
Of including the idea, whoever decided to include Black Arachnia in this season deserves an award for like a number of reasons. One, she's just like a really good character, but the idea of bringing someone from Beast Wars
Right.
into something that had nothing to do with Beast Wars was an inspired decision.
It's like animated is in many ways kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things. 'Cause obviously, there's a lot of G1 inspired designs and characterizations, but also with the Allspark and stuff and with the general cast, it's a lot also very live action movie oriented. Then you got Black Arachnia there. There's going to be some other characters show up later that, you know, it's all like it's greatest hits.
Yeah. So anyway, that is all I will say about that, is that was a great choice and I really appreciated it.
That's right. So yeah, I think it's time to hit these questions for our season 1 wrap up here, starting of course with our animated. You know what time it is? It's time for the Tutorbot model 842069 Memorial Awards for doing a bad job. All right, here we go.
I love that our server has running jokes. Thank you all.
It's so good.
This makes doing this podcast so much fun.
I am honestly always impressed that she manages to come up with like a new funny,
a new cringe fail
name.
son.
Yeah. So here are your categories: Worst Teen Titan ass villain, Dumbest use of the key, and the Robot Who Screams Award for most pointless Sumdac invention. And those are the only awards. Don't worry about it. So, worst Teen Titan ass villain.
Angry Archer.
Yeah, it's Angry Archer. Sorry, Aaron. The guy the guy they named after you sucks ass. It's either him or Professor Princess.
Yeah, I mean, Angry Archer just does less.
That's true. His gimmick is worse.
His gimmick is work and he does less. I'm giving it to Angry Archer.
Congratulations, Angry Archer, and I get the fuck out of here. Dumbest use of the key.
Boo, we hate your pussy.
Dumbest use of the key. There were so many.
The spiders.
Triggering Optimus's arachnophobia? Yes.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
The spiders.
It's either that or like, I mean, repeatedly boosting Soundwave is pretty dumb, but I guess she was repeatedly encouraged to do it by Megatron, so you know, it's okay. It's alright. And the Robot Who Screams Award for most pointless Sumdac invention. The thing about Sumdac, right? Not all of his inventions are too terribly pointless. They're just all stupid. Let's think about some of the robots we've seen over the course, right? So there's like...
the one that fucked Fanzone's wife.
Yeah, whatever that one is.
Whatever that one is. Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. Like, they all have points. It's just like, A, are they necessary, and B, are they functional?
Yeah, B, do they explode frequently? And the answer is often yes.
Or do they, like, splatter mayonnaise all over your...
I think it's the reception bot. Why? Just... What?
Hey, listen, she had a hate crime done to her.
That's true.
I'm gonna give her the pass.
But you just put a human lady there. I don't understand.
So a human lady can get melted?
Look,
is that your...
I guess that's true.
Is that what you wanted to happen?
I guess that's true.
I just want to clarify here.
No, you're right. Maybe it's better that maybe that's why he has the robot there. There are too many fucking supervillains trying to attack him. He doesn't want anyone getting caught in the crossfire.
I think we've cracked it.
There we go. Well, what a short list of categories. I guess I'll see you now. Oh shit! A small child holding a key is running up to the stage and has put it in the Cybertraining category maker, and now it's become... Hello and welcome to the Sorry Sumdeck Awards for doing whatever the fuck I feel like. Present nominees for the following categories. Best usage of Optimus's cum cannon. Top 3 Tutorbot moments. Strangest episode plot. Coolest Dinobot whose name isn't Grimlock. Well, congratulations, Swoop, on winning that one.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think there's any real competition. Sorry, Snarl, but you kind of look like a... I don't know what you look like. Most competent...
His slug looks like a box.
Most competent Starscream moment. And random appliance you would want to supercharge with the key that no longer exists. Now, the key does exist. It's just the Allspark doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Best usage of Optimus' cum cannon was giving
Starscream a facial.
Giving Starscream a facial. And then coming on his feet. Don't forget that part.
I know what they like.
Top 3 Tutorbot moments. How many times did he explode? I liked his cool dancing in the Soundwave episode.
A very similar... My answer is very similar to the canon montage of another character's death.
Uh-huh.
That's... I mean, we know it's Starscream. We've already talked about it.
Set Tutorbot exploding to the 1812 Overture, and there it is. There's your top 3 Tutorbot moments.
I was going more in the arms of an angel.
God. Yeah. His dancing was pretty cool. He knows a lot about dinosaurs and all of the explosions. All of the times he got killed. Strangest episode plot. There aren't really a lot of, like, super weird ones this season. Most of them were pretty on the level.
I guess Meltdown.
Yeah, Meltdown. Meltdown's just a weird guy in general.
Just, like, conceptually, that's a weird plot.
It is. But honestly, both Meltdown episodes of the seasons were kind of fucking weird.
Yeah. It
Weird.
just, like... It has nothing to do with anything, and, like, in this particular universe, because it's not, like, DC... Like, we talk about them being Teen Titan episodes, but it's not Teen Titans. So, they feel weird.
Yeah. Yeah, weird guy. He just... Anytime he gets involved, things just start getting really weird. We already named Swoop as the coolest Dinobot who was in Grimlock. Most competent Starscream moment.
I would say the first episode, him strapping that bomb to Megatron's back.
He blew up Megatron. Can't take that away from him. And random appliance, I would want to supercharge.
You can take so much away from him,
including his life,
including his entire being. Maybe
you can't take that away from him, actually.
Yeah, actually, that's the one thing you can't take away from him.
Random appliance, I would want to supercharge with the key. Air fryer. I want to see what happens.
Jesus, dude. What would I... That's an interesting one. What would I supercharge? Of my vacuum cleaner.
That could have consequences.
It could, but one of the consequences might be... Now, hear me out. One of the consequences might be that I get an automated vacuum cleaner. I don't have to clean shit anymore.
That's true. I think you're right. The reward outweighs the risk. From Black Arachne Lovebot, who asks, "Hey Nira, have you read Nona yet?" I have, and she also asks what you think of it. And I will brief Nona the Ninth Corner here. I'm not going to spoil anything. I did like it. I think maybe as a result of the fact that I read the last eighth of it all at one sitting at like 4 a.m. I was a little confused by the ending, but once again, that might have been the 4 a.m. thing. However, the ending is also kind of wet and wild with it, so I don't know. I think the thing about Nona is that's very fascinating is that it is a book that was not planned to exist. The Locked Tomb series was originally a trilogy, and then while Tamsin Muir was writing it, she realized that the third book was getting really long, and that she had a lot of ground to cover, and so she just kind of split it off into Nona. And for better and worse, it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like a book that is meant to kind of build up to something. Like it really felt as though the end of Nona is a great lead-in for Alecto the Ninth. However you may take that, but I liked it a lot. It's Hera the Ninth is still my favorite book, but this one was a lot of fun. So that's what I thought about Nona. And everyone should read the Locked Tomb series. It's good. Also from Black Arachne Loveblot. When you saw the season for the first time, where did you think Sari's character was going? Not the way it went. I can tell you that. I was also 9 or something though, so who knows? I wasn't thinking.
God, we're so bad about spoilers.
Look, we haven't said anything yet.
Uh-huh.
We've made an outline of something that people can guess about, but we haven't directly said it, which means we haven't technically spoiled it yet. We've simply sort of gestured at it repeatedly and specifically.
Yep. For sure. No doubt.
But actually, Sari I was going to bring Sari up as another character who, like, as a result of her dad getting kidnapped into this season, I think she's a much stronger character going forward into season 2 and 3. Because her character in the first season doesn't really have stakes in much of anything, and she never really changes at all until the end. And I think that the addition of this plot with her dad being kidnapped by Megatron helped kind of ground her character in something where it could actually advance instead of just like human sidekick. Because like she just hangs out with Bumblebee all day and does dumb shit and facilitates episode plots for the most part.
I do feel like her getting chosen by the Allspark is fairly significant in terms of building her character.
Right, but I think one of the things about that is that is the thing that is very relevant in the premiere and the finale, but it's not necessarily something that gets super focused on in between. Like, characters will bring it up, and it's like, hey, you were chosen by the Allspark, you shouldn't use the key to, I don't know, make smoothies or whatever. But like, as an aspect of her character, it's not necessarily, because that will come up much later, and in season 2 and 3. But in between, she's kind of like, I don't know, they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with her, I think. And they get there, they do. But yeah, I didn't know where she was going when I first saw this. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Black Arachne Lovebot also asks, if you had to put one of the series Cybertronians into a combiner team, who and which team? Hard mode, not Prowl with the Constructicons. This Prowl would not get along with the Constructicons.
No. I would probably do Bulkhead.
Ooh.
You know what's fucked up? It's fucked up that there's no Wrecker Gestalt.
I think there is one somewhere out there, but like it's never been.
There's no Wrecker Gestalt that anyone cares about, and as far as I'm concerned, that means that there's no Wrecker Gestalt.
I think it was like a fucking toy exclusive somewhere, but like there's no fiction about it. And I think it was all repaints anyway. So, you know. But yeah.
I mean, I do think I mean, maybe this is just me thinking about Prime, but I do think that Bulkhead could probably get into Menasor pretty well.
Maybe. The Stunticons are inanimated. They do all have toys.
Yeah. Switch out Breakdown.
There we go. He can be the... Well, I think Bulkhead would probably have to be the chest, right? Like... I don't know. But yeah, I like the idea of a cross-continuity Wrecker combiner, but they get the wrong Bulkhead.
Here's what I really... My dream for Bulkhead in a combiner is that he himself turns into the Wrecking Ball.
Yes.
On the end of the arm.
The worst job of any combiner. You get to be the thing we swing around and hit people with.
I don't know. I feel like the legs always have a bad... Ambulon. All right, we're not going to talk about Ambulon right now.
All right, let's talk about poor Ambulon. Alas, poor Ambulon, I knew thee in two pieces. So yeah, what we got here. Yeah, put Bulkhead in a Wrecking Combiner team as the Wrecking Ball. That's our answer. Comrade Q asks, toy sales are flagging. Corporate demands you to kill off minimum one character now. Who gets the axe? We can't say Bumblebee. He's too marketable.
Probably Prowl.
Yeah, probably Prowl. Get him out of here. No one likes motorcycles.
I love all the Autobots equally earlier that day. I don't care for Prowl.
How should we kill off said character, asks Robinus Prime.
Motorcycle accident.
Really bad motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
Or he gets mauled by a bear. I don't know. Somehow. I don't know how that would happen, but you know.
He goes into anaphylactic shock from cat-related allergies.
Damn. R.I.P. to Prowl. Get Jazz in here.
Exactly. Cop. The cooler cop. Listen, I'm ACAB as the day is long, but I do make an exception for Jazz.
He's simply cool.
He's simply really cool. Is he a covert agent who's probably engaged in the most hideous torture that the Autobots are responsible for? Absolutely. But he's very cool is the other thing.
Horn My Starscream asks, what are the SCP containment procedures for Megatron and Starscream respectively? For Starscream, it's just like, you just gotta kill him.
There's nothing you can do.
You gotta kill him over and over again, right? Like, you just gotta put him in a chamber and just shoot him every 30 seconds or whatever.
You literally just have to separate his head and put it in a cube.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which
we'll see.
We'll get there.
Literally, we're gonna see it. Sorry, it's not a spoiler anymore. You know.
Megatron. I mean, you can't contain him in full form, but as a head, what you'd have to do is like,
you have to make a cage out of his hand.
yeah, you have to isolate him entirely from any technology at all. I guess you just got to put him in a big fucking Faraday cage. Just let him hang out there. Robinus Prime asks, how do you even classify Megatron, Starscream, or really any Cybertronian in the SCP setting to begin with? I mean, Megatron's Keter, right? Like...
Okay, so first of all, back in my day, we only had 3 classes.
Yeah,
of
listen,
SCP.
I don't know what's the new one, fucking...
There's like
Apotheon.
There's at least 5 of them now.
Look,
There's 2 beyond Keter, which is like whatever.
We don't need it. All we need is those 3. Just those 3. Ignoring the other 2.
I mean, I feel like they're both Keter.
Yeah, right. Like they're fucking dangerous.
Holy shit. There's 7 classes now.
That's simply too much.
Safe, Euclid, Keter, Thaumiel, Neutralize. Okay, Neutralize. Apollyon and Archon.
Shut up. It's too many SCPs. There's too many different people writing it. And at a certain point, it stopped becoming a platform where people could write like cool or interesting spooky stories. And instead, it's just a platform for you to write about your OCs. Which is fine. Okay. But it's not what it was built for.
I am reading the descriptions, and I will give them that they are all at least like actually distinct.
Yeah,
okay, so we know Safe, Euclid, and Keter. Yeah. Fine. Thaumiel are specifically anomalies that a Foundation uses to contain other SCPs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Apollyon class SCPs are anomalies that cannot be contained, are expected to breach containment imminently, or some other similar scenario. And Archons are anomalies that could theoretically be contained, but are best left uncontained for some reason.
Okay, those are actually all more interesting than they sound, because I just thought it was just like a straight threat level.
It's not just increasing levels of danger. It actually is like specific things. Fine, I will give you that.
I still think there are too many SCPs.
There's too many, but I will give you all that those are at least like well thought out distinctions and not just like Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah, we're not this is a level further beyond Euclid, and this is Super Saiyan God. Right. Yeah, no.
So I will grant you that, SCP Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're both Keters.
Yeah, because you can contain them, but they're also highly dangerous. Especially Megatron. That fusion cannon is no joke.
Yeah, and one of the things that, like, again, I'm just reading the description now, is that Keters are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably.
Right.
Which I feel works very well for Starscream, regardless of how dangerous he is. And he is an animated very dangerous.
Slipstream Sam asks, who has a big dumb novelty water bottle and why is it Ratchet? Yeah, Ratchet has that one... the huge one that's got like the encouragement written on it of like keep going, super hydrated.
I think Ratchet has a Margaritaville branded water bottle.
Yes. Oh,
he's on boat time.
He's on fucking island time.
Yeah.
Prowl has one of those like super serious, ultra cooled fucking $300 water bottles.
Yeah, it's like painted Vanta black.
Right. Like you can put water in there and it'll stay ice cold for fucking 45 days.
Until the heat death of the universe, yeah.
Yeah. That's what he rocks with. But yeah, Ratchet absolutely has like a gigantic Margaritaville water bottle. It's got a parrot on it. He likes it. Stormcast, aka Tacklejax, asks, uh-oh! Animated Optimus has accidentally been replaced with a random Optimus from another setting. Who do you think would be the most interesting to have him switched with, going either way?
G1.
God.
For me, it's always gotta be G1.
G1, yeah, G1 Optimus is very funny.
My what?
Yeah, my what? Either that or Bayverse. My two answers for this are always either G1 or Bayverse, because either were so funny. One of them is like this fucking blue and red Boy Scout ass fucking 80s cartoon hero, and then the other one is a bloodthirsty murder machine.
But Optimus, what about your long and meaningful friendship with Negatron? My what?
My what? That dude shot me in a factory. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, word on. Hashtag who is Dion. Daphnis asks, how grumpy of a Ratchet is too grumpy? I think this Ratchet is like...
This is the upper limit.
Upper limit of grumpy, yeah. He is quite crotchety.
I think the only thing that saves TFA Ratchet from being over the line is that he actually just doesn't show up that much.
And he's also like,
or he shows up, but he doesn't like speak that much.
Yeah, and also like when he is mean or grumpy, like there's always something else to soften it. Like he's been through some shit is the other thing that helps it along. It's like, okay, I understand how you got here. I understand why you just don't want to deal with any of this bullshit.
But I think that if he had as many lines as like either Bumblebee or Bulkhead
Oh,
or
yeah.
Optimus, it would just be like I'm out. Like there is a point where someone with the characterization that this Ratchet has, where enough, like too much of that, even at this sort of level, just becomes like mean and unpleasant.
Right.
So I think that like that is very specific. A very specific element to this, which is that he just doesn't speak as much.
He's
as some of the other characters.
He's there for he says some rude stuff or whatever, but often he's like kind of in the background. When he is in the forefront, it's like a different thing. Like Thrill of the Hunt is sort of him going through some shit, and he's not really being the like crotchety caustic asshole he usually is.
Yeah, we get you are excused for trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Once.
And finally, Aurora Animated asks, are Space Bridge maintenance workers unionized?
Oh, clearly not.
Yeah, I don't know.
As someone who's a union leader in my own workplace, clearly not. I can't tell you how many breaches of not just their own personal CBA I would assume that they would have if they were union, but just the NLRB in general that have gone on here.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like this Optimus is the kind of guy who buys into anti-union propaganda because he's too much of a naive idiot.
Oh my god. You know Sentinel Union busts.
Oh yeah, like
Sentinel Union
busts.
busts.
Ultra Magnus like technically doesn't do it, but he definitely doesn't encourage unionization. But Sentinel though, oh boy.
Ultra Magnus cares about the letter of the law.
Yeah.
If the law says that the labor has rights, then labor has rights. Sentinel, on the other hand,
This is a petty little bitch.
Fuck a Sentinel Prime. That's a consistency between all universes. Fuck a Sentinel Prime.
He's always an asshole. Just in wildly different ways. Sometimes he's just kind of a prick. Other times he's a raging fascist.
He sets off 40. Yeah, sometimes he sets off 40 million years of war. It's impossible to say.
Which one's worse? It's who can tell. I mean, TFA Sentinel also gets a little fashy, but we'll get there. So that's it for questions.
Quote me on
here.
that shit.
I'll put that on your gravestone. Fuck a Sentinel Prime, but not like that. Well, it's your choice to where to guide us next, Audrey. Where are you taking us?
If you're RC, not RC. If you're Elita 1.
Oh boy, I can't. Why do I always go for the assholes and not nice guys like me? That was Optimus.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Great impression.
Yeah, can you tell? I sounded exactly like David K. Oh, jeez, hey guys, transform and roll out.
You sound like Patrick Star.
Whoops.
What you sound like.
Whoops, I aimed for the wrong character.
Yeah, you went for Bulkhead instead.
Like a really sad Bulkhead. All right, where are we going next? Direct this train into its next station.
Baby, it's my turn to pick. And if you haven't guessed at this point, we are going back to the beginning. It is G1 Season 1 coming your way 2022.
The year is 1984.
All right, let me talk about my choice for G1. Outside of my own feelings about G1, which is that it is genuinely possibly the funniest series of television I've ever watched. Season 2 specifically, of course, that we've talked about, but like the entire thing is just like incredible. It is such a critical thing to go back to the genesis of this franchise. And it really recontextualized a lot about what comes after it, what has come in the next 40 years. And it's again, I think with G1, there's a very important distinction that we've made a little bit in the other shows that we have watched so far, but I think becomes particularly important here. The difference between good and enjoyable.
Yes.
G1's so much fun. It's so enjoyable.
It is a terrible show. But
it is a pleasure to watch.
It is amazing. Like animated and Prime, those are good shows. And yes, they are also enjoyable. But you can't get the rickety, coke-fueled writing of G1 out of those shows. You simply can't.
It's not just the writing. It's the animation. There's like an error every 5 seconds. It's gorgeous. Like, it's the voice work. And I know you don't like Frank Welker's Megatron in G1, but like, nobody sounds good. It sounds terrible. It's so bad. Chris Latta, Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, a whole bunch of other people put all their entire pussies into those performances, and they suck. It's so like, and it's not their fault. It's the sound mixing. It's the fact that it's 1984, but like, the writing is terrible. The animation is awful. The voice acting tried their best, but what did they have to work with? And it is never more obvious than in G1 that the point is to sell toys. No one gives a shit about what's going on. Buy our fucking products, kids. It's so good.
It's time to sell these fucking toys. I mean, I could go on a spiel about the creation of G1 or whatever, but like, there's plenty of places you can read or watch that'll tell you how this thing got made. Like, it's one of the most well documented Transformer series creations because like it's the first one. Basically, some dudes from Hasbro went over to Japan and looked at Diaclone and said, "Hey, that's pretty cool. We should put that on our shelves too." And
well, they specifically went over and they're like, "Hey, those are cool toys. We're gonna take those toys, and redistribute them." But you don't. And they're like, but they were Gachapon toys, right? So there were some of the, because like they took a wide.
There were like a few lines, right? Because there was Diaclone.
Well, the ones that the ones that actually gave them the idea. Yeah, actually, was originally these Gachapon. The Diaclone came.
Yeah, the ones that were like became the Bumblebee and Bumblebee size characters, like the tiny cars.
And that was what inspired the idea. Was they went over and they saw these Gachapon toys and they're like, "Hey, these rule," but hey, we noticed you don't have any IP surrounding them. Mind if we swoosh right in here and create a multi-million-dollar IP off of these? Thank you.
And they went to Marvel and said, "Hey, Bob Budiansky, can you write stories and personalities and lore for all of these guys?" He said, "Yeah, I guess." And then he did.
And then they went to the guy who created Macross and they were like, "Hey, we need robot modes for these cars. Can you make those?" And he said, "Sure." And then he did.
And then it's G1 got shat out, and it's in history ever since. It's I mean, look, we said that the season 2 is where all the wild stuff happens, but that's not to discount anything that happens in season 1. There's already some out of pocket nonsense that happens in season 1.
Here's the thing about G1. Season 2 is where the episode plots get really whacked out.
Yeah.
But the individual moments of season 1 are still all baffling.
Is Optimus Prime balling from season 1? I forget if it is or not. I think it might be. I think Optimus Prime might be balling in season 1.
Out of my way, man thing.
Season 1, G1 is a treat. And
stupid Megatron, I'm balling.
So, I mean, season 1 is where the fucking amazing booby trap that actually catches boobies is from. So, like,
Yes. Which, again, is probably the single most well-known G1 Optimus line that isn't, like, pull my string and I say something.
Other than Autobots transform and roll out. Yeah, it's like...
Well, that and, like,
anything he says, anything he says in the movie.
Yeah, right, exactly. A one shall rise. Freedom is the right, etc.
Megatron must be stopped no matter the cost, and then cool music starts playing. Yeah, like G1's gonna
the touch, etc.
So the first season of G1, 13 episodes, just like this one. So it's gonna be a little short. But hey, that'll and hey, G1 is all on Tubi, and it's probably also a bunch of other places too.
You can, I swear to God, if you lift up the cushions of your couch, you will find a VHS tape of G1.
They're all over the fucking place, and I demand. Listen, you don't gotta watch along with every show. You need to watch along with G1. You need to.
It is so much fun. Like, it is. I know that the description I offered of G1 probably does not actually sound very good. That's because it's not a good show. But like, I can't. There are a few things, pieces of media that I consume that I've enjoyed more than watching G1.
It's a treat all the way through. It's like. It really is so bad it's good in a lot of ways. Just like
one of the other things about G1 that is like really a critical thing is that the cast is enormous.
Oh, there's so many characters.
The cast is enormous because the job was to sell toys. So they are just cranking these motherfuckers out. And it's like I would say there's probably like 20 characters
in season 1 alone.
In general, that there's 20 characters who are like important that you really need to remember the names of the robots, at least,
right?
And another 5 for the humans, right? So let's say there's like 25 characters, right? Where it's like the top 10 Autobots, the top 10 Decepticons. There are a bunch of Decepticons, actually.
The guys who always show up in other stuff, right? Like the names that stuck around.
Yeah, though, again, like the Decepticons are a bit more complicated than the Autobots because of the Seekers. Which, I mean, they show up a bunch, but they show up a bunch because they were just repaints. Yeah. So they were really easy to make. But for some reason, they didn't do that with the Autobots, which is really interesting. They didn't even do it with Sunny and Sides.
Yeah, they're different toys.
Super weird.
There are a couple of repaints, like Prowl and Blue Streak are repaints, and then Smokescreen, they're all the same thing.
Praxians be like.
Sideswipe and Red Alert are repaints.
Cliff Jumper and Bumblebee.
No, actually, they were different. They were different molds.
Really?
Yeah. There was like a fucked up hybrid mold that got made that everyone called Bumble Jumper for a while, but eventually it was named as Bumper. It's like an unofficial product. Like there's a whole lot of weird shit that happened way back in the day. But yeah, like G1 has a giant cast, and very often between season 1 and 2, literally like 25 new characters show up without any explanation at all.
They're just there.
There's new toys. They're here now.
They're just there. Don't worry about it.
Like the comic, at least at the time, had like the barest excuse, like, they're soldiers and we downloaded their minds into these new bodies we built on Earth. The cartoon, no, they're just here now.
The cartoon is like the biggest fuck you in the history of television writing.
It really is.
They really didn't. They were so high. They were so coked out.
It was the 80s. What else are you going to do except snort a bunch of coke and
champagne?
Coke and champagne at once. You stir it in. You stir the coke into the champagne.
Yeah, no, that was the era of the coke and champagne diet. Have you not heard about that?
It's not a thing I've necessarily heard of, no, but it makes sense.
It was what everyone said supermodels in the 80s. The diet of supermodels in the 80s, Coke and champagne.
But until next, so obviously we're on break next week, which will be when we are watching.
Oh, we're not on break. We're serving a prison term. There's a difference.
I guess it's not really
we're
a break.
doing community service.
We're community disservice because we're watching.
Really?
We are subjecting you all to Transformers: Revenge
And
of the Fallen.
ourselves.
Yeah, we're
And
going to be there.
ourselves.
We can't escape from it either. As much as I would
thought
like
I
to,
could.
as much as I would like to
really...
put it, I would like to put it on, mute my computer, and crawl into my bed and cry.
I really
can't.
thought I was getting out of this one, folks.
Tried to flee to Spain to escape the movie.
I left the country to escape Revenge of the Fallen.
No dice.
No dice. It's egg time, baby.
So, till next Friday, and with a restream on either Saturday or Sunday, it's fucking Revenge of the Fallen, baby. It's one of them.
Actually, depending on when we do it, I won't be here for it.
Uh-huh.
Haha. I mean, I'll be there for the restream, but
It's bad. It's really bad, folks. It's the worst movie.
I'm
maybe other
going
than
to
Last Night.
I'm going to see Film Red.
Oh fuck, that's right. Film Red comes out. I might also be going to see Film Red at some point during that stretch of time.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll have updates for you about
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
when the stream will be.
We will figure it out. Don't you worry.
Because I have good movie to go to
Yeah, I would
instead
like
of
to see a
bad
good
movie.
movie instead of Revenge of the Fallen. But yeah, that'll be it. That'll be next week. So keep an eye out for that, and emotionally prepare yourselves.
By which
I
we
guess.
mean this week if you're listening to this on Sunday.
That's right. It's time.
Time.
And with that, we've been Prime Cuts. I'm Nero. You can follow me on Twitter at Dragon Smoocher. You can find my various other projects in various other places, such as my comprehensive Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast, Ready for You Heidelin, at Heidelin Radio. I do that with my friend Jane, who I also did a She-Ra podcast with called Podcast of Power. That is at Podcast of Power. I am also on Disney Minus at Disney Minus Pod from time to time. What is the next one we're doing? Hang on, let me check. I've already forgotten, but I believe
I guess you're not on that one, huh?
it's Fox and the Hound. That's why I forgot it, because it's a forgettable movie.
I like Fox and the Hound. It's sweet.
I've never actually seen it probably all the way through. So yeah, that we're doing that next one. So if you want to cry about dogs, then we got you.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm Audrey. You can find me on Tumblr and Twitter at Optimum on Prime. That's my funny robot internet joke. You can also listen to the other podcast I do called Pot of Greed, which you can find on Twitter at Pot of Greed Cast. It's about Yu-Gi-Oh! And we are, again, in Season 4 of GX. You can also listen, not listen yet, but keep your eyes out for a new project that I will be releasing with a friend of mine on the Moonshot Network.
Ooh.
So looking forward to sharing more details about that soon as we figure out the announcement for that. You can find this show and many others on the Noise Space Network, which you can find at noisepace.xyz. Give them a listen. They're pretty good. And then you can also find this podcast on Twitter at PrimeCutsPod, and there in the URL section and also in the description of all our episodes, you can join our Discord. So you can join us to watch Revenge of the Fallen.
You can't escape Devastator's fat nuts.
Listen to me, young man. I am speaking directly into your ear. Yeah, no, if you want to wait like a couple weeks to join our Discord, I would not blame you.
But if you're already here, you have to watch it. That's the rules.
But if you're already here, you have to watch it. That's the rules. If I have to watch it, so do you.
Wait, sorry. I have Twitter open, and one of the trending tabs is Yu-Gi. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, but without the O. What? I think the simulation is breaking down. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, so it is.
Until next time, I am going to transform, be erroneously sized and colored, and sort of shuffle off frame, and then roll out.
I'm going to fall into a booby trap that actually catches boobies. Transform and roll out.
Peach.
Peach.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.